This week in gaming, Randy Pitchford is back. The PS6 and the next Xbox is set for 2027. Sucker Punch is going to be a one-game studio and so much more. This is the Nerd Cave Newz, and I am one of your hosts, Zach Dykes, joined by my good friend and co-host, Derek Daniel. Derek, how's it going, my man?
It's going pretty well, man. Fresh off of it. Well, started back work this week, fresh off of vacation. So energized, been getting after it, so doing the things. It's been good. Been a good week.
Good, man. I'm glad. It's been a longer week for me. I haven't felt great, but on the tail end of things, feeling a little bit better, but excited for tonight. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about, and we want to hear your thoughts, your opinions on all of the content that we're going to be discussing tonight. But let's jump into one of my favorite segments of each week is what you playing. We want to know what you playing as well. But Derek, let me guess. You've been playing Warzone.
I was gonna say my life is Mayo or something like that.
I'm sure you've been playing Ghost of Yote. How much more have you been able to jump into it?
I played more, on Friday, Saturday, but that's been the crux of it. But Saturday, I did get up to I did learn from the Kusarigama master. I did add that to my repertoire, and that was an interesting story. It did feel like that one felt like more like the actual quest line of Sensei Ishikawa. The same thing with that, like the whole crux of it, but it had a satisfying conclusion. But I like these trainings that you get, like with the Yari and then the Kusarigama. But I've just been doing more stuff around the area. No, I've kind of caught up. I haven't done any more story, honestly, but I've just been catching up. Just been doing, and then of course, the Kusarigama unlocks like other things. Like I found more shinobi hideouts that were interesting to do. I did this little like mini quest, like for the save the farms, and that netted you the kunai throws and whatnot. So that was an interesting little tidbit to do. So that area, I feel like what's the name? Teshiro Ridge is like one of the more unique areas in the game, just because of what it presents, like the element battles. Because I'm thinking, what was it because have you done the Kusarigama training?
Yeah, I did that Tuesday.
Yeah, so how it's like, Atsu's, just like it's too cold, I can't get a good grip, and then I thought that would be like how it was in Jin, because when you get to Act 3 in Tsushima, you have to face the elements, and then you freeze over and whatnot, and you kind of you got to get near fires and defrost. But then you learn an ability that pretty much knocks that out. You don't have to do that all the time. I'm thinking that's what it's like. You're training your mind to basically fight off. Nope, there's still stuff that that ices over part of your health bar. I'm like, why?
I think it makes it interesting though. It's like you are training, but it takes time to train that kind of stuff. And
True.
Atsu, like, she doesn't stay in one place too long. So
True.
I don't know if that will be something that she necessarily gains, because she's like the jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal. I did really like the training. I thought like having the cold plunge instead of the hot spring or whatever to get her to kind of get over that edge where she had, the ability to do the more, whips and all of that kind of stuff. And I've only gotten the little bit of, the master and
the training, like to work up to it. Because I know part of it, just like with the Yachty, you have to pretty much go to the shrines and gain the ability points. And I'm indifferent about it, because I went to enough altars after the Yari to basically, upgrade my katana and dual katana, but I don't like the emphasis. Now, granted, obviously you don't have to do it. Like you can just be like, all right, cool, I'll just get to it when I get to it, because there's enough shrines to level up. Because I know I still have to get the Odachi, which I think is like the last weapon, last weapon I need to get.
There's one more after the Odachi.
Oh yeah, you're right. I do remember. Okay, yeah. So there's two more, but still, obviously there will be enough shrines to level up all your weapons. But I don't like the peer pressure. It says it's like, oh, if you want to continue this quest, you have to level up get pretty much fill out all your skill trees for those weapons. I'm like, do I though? Do I?
Yeah, I like that you get to go back to the master and learn more specific traits
Right.
from them on their weapons. I haven't gotten to that point because I've gotten the Adachi, now I've got the Kusurigama, and I'm liking both of them. I haven't got the Yari yet, or the there's another one that we get later on, but
I know which one it is. I've seen enough TikTok videos to
yeah, so like I'm enjoying the game. I did more story content with the Kisune, and dude, the twists
Oh no.
oh my god, you're gonna love it, dude. You're gonna absolutely love it. And I'm enjoying getting to play on the stream and everything. I need to do more like story, like not just story stuff. I kind of push that a little bit on the side stream, but I'm I'm digging it, and I've been watching like some people on TikTok taking on like that dual katana dude. I can't.
Oh, Takizo, the unrivaled, like
Yeah,
after you do all the dueling trees, yeah.
like one dude, like he utterly made him look like a fool compared to like everybody else I've seen. It's like struggle bus. It's like, oh, I've been killed 20 times on this dude, and he's like frustrated me. This dude just like made him look like a puppet. He was just like juggling him and doing
Pocket sand.
Yeah, and literally changing outfits in the middle of the battle and all this kind of stuff. I was like, holy crap, dude, you've really figured it out.
Yeah, I've seen those pop up lately. I think one of my funniest ones that I've seen was like a guy's like, man, how strong is he? He ain't strong. And then he one shot somebody's like, and the guy's just sitting there like stunned face. I'm just like, yep, that's what happens.
And something I watched today, I'll have to figure out the name of the creator. She was playing, and she was like giving kind of like a history lesson on Ghost, and she was talking about how like the wolf is actually like a really interesting companion, because in that area, like the Etso area and everything, wolves actually became extinct in that area because of the way like colonization and everything happened. So like right after that time, like the wolves kind of went extinct, and like they were hunting them, they were literally poisoning them. So this is kind of a way for like and it was seen as like for the Ainu and everything, it was like a spiritual being for like that part of the world. And like having that in the game, we're seeing like this kind of revenge tale between Atsu going against the OT6, but also our gray wolf that's trying to battle back progression and the eventual demise of the wolf in that area and everything.
Well, and it makes sense because like how do you come across wolf dens? It's like hunters are taking them out, so and that makes sense. And I like how I've upgraded the wolf tree enough to where it's just like now it's like when I throw objects, I summon the wolf, like more often than not when I do standoffs, the wolf's with me. And it's so cool to see that simultaneous, like when you time it right, and it's just like the wolf guns for the other guy's throat. And I'm like, cool. Or like, what else is like, you see your parry. Like I've seen people like the wolf see, like, I think that there's a skill where right before you're about to like get killed off is like the wolf can come and save you last minute. And I've seen TikToks of that like happening. I'm like, that's so cool.
I've had the wolf save me like 3 or 4 times where like they're about to stab me and it just comes in and like takes them out. I'm like, thank you. Thank you, wolf.
Which that's a good, you bring up a good point too. It's like, just as a sidebar, sorry, I like how they added that into the game because, in Tsushima, they didn't really do that. They just, once they killed you, they just kind of stood there and gloated over your body.
Yeah.
And it's like when you take down an enemy, but they're not really out, they're just crawling and you can end suffering and you just go, and then like, you've seen like Takizo and others just like do the same to you. I think it's just a nice little touch to it as well.
They did that in Tsushima.
Really? I guess I never encountered that. I guess because I never died.
You sure about that, dog?
Well, I would fall off the cliff. I would never.
You never died in combat.
No.
Ever.
No.
You must have been playing on that easy mode, bro.
Okay, you play on the hardest difficulty and go fight Takizo and then come talk to me.
Hey, I died enough. I know they kill you. I'm not ashamed. The creator's name is Sophie Quest over on TikTok, and she also brought up an interesting thing that I don't know if you knew this or not, but it apparently during the time that where the gameplay is taking place, women were actually outlawed playing the shamisen. So
Interesting.
so for like Atsu to like play the shamisen and like that whole thing is actually like a really powerful like statement to the world and everything. So go check out Sophie's Quest, bringing a lot of cool historical things out about this game, and how much like Sucker Punch is actually put into the game is absolutely astonishing. So that's what we've been playing. Let us know what you've been playing. Joe, hope you're doing well. And everybody else, let us know how you are down in the comments below. Amy says, love this history. Yeah, I'm loving it because I'm loving that game, Derek. I'm loving that game. Oh my gosh, I just want to play more.
I wonder what will be our game of the year.
I don't know. Probably Troll 2. Or Hades 2. Nothing wrong with Hades, but that's not our cup of tea.
Right.
Let's jump into the gaming discussion this week. Randy Pitchford has his own take on competition in the looter shooter genre. And this is a little bit of a big one here. Okay, it's a little bit of a read. So sit back, relax, and this is by Wesley Yinpool over at IGN.
So Pitchford was speaking in an interview with BBC Radio 5 Live to discuss the release of Borderlands 4 and Gearbox's journey alongside the series' success. Quote, our mission is to entertain the world, Pitchford said, which means we suck because there are billions of people in the world. We got a lot of work to do. Borderlands with 4, we're going to cross probably 100 million units sold with Borderlands 4 of the franchise. That's awesome compared to a lot of things, but it kind of sucks if your goal is to entertain the world. Excuse me. So I feel like we're just getting started. Pitchford then entered into a rather philosophical debate about why people love looter shooters like Borderlands so much. Quote, you're poking at some fundamentals, which is part of why I think Borderlands as a game has worked and does work, and why it's a very delicate design that I think is one of the reasons why there haven't been really many successful imitators since we first showed how a looter shooter could work with the original game. Pitchford said. Borderlands doesn't have the looter shooter genre to itself, of course. Perhaps its most high-profile rival is Bungie's Destiny, although that Sony-owned franchise has seen better days. Other examples include People Can Fly's Outriders, which there's no sequel in sight, and Ubisoft's The Division, which The Division 3 is currently in the works. Quote, we reduced it down to this simple moment with this interface in the system. It's a gratifying loop. It's a gratifying decision. Our brains need to do it, and our brains like doing it, and we're better off when we do it. The more we exercise that muscle, not just in the video game, but literally in life, this is what separates our species from a lot of others, and how we developed languages and how we developed all kinds of high levels of consciousness and cognition that allow us to analyze the world. Pitchford continued, we don't do it because it's addictive. We do it because it's stimulating and because we kind of need that. Part of why games exist are we can live a fantasy that we might not be able to have in the real world, and we can explore themes and ideas in a safe place that we can't explore in the real world, but we also can because it's an interactive simulation, we can test our thinking and our decision making and put our brain to work in really interesting ways that we kind of need and want. And then the puzzlement that other developers haven't taken Borderlands on as its own game, and the associated suggestion that Gearbox's rivals aren't thinking about the looter shooter on the same level as the studio. If other game designers that were trying to get in on the action, so to speak, understood that, we'd have more competitors, or we'd have good competitors, he said. But we haven't so far. It's weird. The kinds of people that just want to go after it, they're just thinking about it on that. They're not thinking about it on that level. They're just putting it into motion something because of market analysis. It's not a designer's or creative's drive that's doing it. It's either a business drive or a wishing to be something that you're not kind of drive. It's so weird. I fully expected after the first game came out that everyone would be hip to exactly what you mentioned, and we'd immediately see lots of other games imitating and aping, and we're dead. and we'd be dead, because we compete with a lot of other folks, especially back then. We were the scrappy underdogs.
That is so interesting. Like, I think that's the first time I've ever heard Randy Pitchford actually talk about something that's like interesting and not just him, blowing smoke. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the kind of philosophical and the way people like how like it's engineered. That if he talked more like that, and I know it was a lot to read, Derek. Thank you for reading all of that. But if he talked more like that, I feel like Borderlands and Gearbox itself, and even Randy Pitchford himself, would not be seen as this kind of loud mouth, just kind of boisterous. Yeah. And it's like reading some of that, I'm like, yeah, it does make sense. They have really pushed the looter shooter, and they do like it's more than just I'm picking up this or putting down this. Like Destiny has it, but is Destiny the best version of it? And it was just a kind of a breath of fresh air. I was not expecting when I saw Randy Pitchford in the doc. I was like, oh God, Derek, why are you doing this to me? And then I read through it and I was like, okay, this is a different kind of Randy we're getting right now.
Yeah. He must have took his meds or something.
Something. What are your thoughts, Derek?
I actually agree with you wholeheartedly. I do think him talking about, and I think getting him to talk about his game instead of just being boisterous and talking about issues outside the world or just the gaming industry in general. I think like when you because we've read many an article where he just kind of lives in his own box, in his own world, that he just has these random ideologies, and we're like, what are you talking about? Go sit down, Uncle Randy. You're crazy again. But I think actually getting him to talk about the whys of what they do with this game and like their approach to it, and why, like when certain taglines are made for clickbait a lot of the time. So when I said Randy Pitchford talks about how his game doesn't have competitors, I'm like, okay, what is this? But then like you said, when you read the article, it's like, oh, okay, he's actually talking about how they big brain this a lot and how they take the gamers into consideration, rather than just being like mindless, like, oh, you got a green weapon, this is a purple weapon, you automatically just are attuned to dropping the green, picking up the purple. But it's like, what are you really giving up if you do that?
Yeah. And like the puzzle solving and like, oh, I need this for that, or yeah, this might be a little bit weaker, but I like the effects that it does to this kind of enemies, and I'm going into this territory that has more of those enemies. It's again, I like, we normally get Randy Pitchford complaining about people complaining about the game and like build your own game, and then it should be this amount of money, go spend your money or whatever. Like, this definitely felt like a breath of fresh air, and
Yeah.
I hope we get more of that kind of Randy, because that is what we need out of like developers that are very vocal. He's a very vocal person.
It's almost like they did this interview on purpose to basically show to get him from going crazy Randy, and it's like, hey, you actually have a good head for video games. Let's actually talk about this, rather than you just give your random statements on they should go code games themselves if they want a good game.
Well, I'm glad to see this version, but let's talk about a rumor, Derek, that has been going around this week, and that is the rumor of the PS6 release date is set for 2027 alongside Microsoft's new Xbox, and this is by Danny. I didn't finish that, but it's over at PSU. Hold on. I got to say the byline, guys. Danny did a good job. I want to give Danny credit here. Oh, that's not Danny. That's Michael Hardinance over at PSU.
Sorry, Danny. I don't know where's that. Thought he saw your name, but so reliable industry insider Kelper L2 has claimed that Sony will release the PS6 in 2027, with Microsoft also planning to launch its next generation Xbox around the same time. Speaking on NeoGAF, the insider responded to a thread discussing Sony and AMD's collaboration known as Project Amethyst, where he said where he said of the 2027 release window, quote, not just on the table, it's the plan unless any unexpected delays happen. While we're on the subject of Project Amethyst, you may recall last week that Sony posted a new video that showcased PS5's lead architect Mark Cerny and AMD's Jack Hume. Toward the end of the video, Cerny said of these features that he's really excited about bringing them to a future console in a few years' time, which is obviously the next generation PlayStation console. Elsewhere, Moore's Law is Dead on YouTube touched base on the AMD Magnus APU, which he said is going to form part of the new Xbox console. It is targeting a 2027 launch, and I want to be clear that since the recent Xbox Magnus videos and RDNA 5 videos I have put out there, I've heard from even more sources that Microsoft is talking to partners behind the scenes and just openly saying 2027 is when Magnus launches. It should be stronger than the PS6, but at the same time, it will also be more expensive because of the larger size and its use of bridge dies and likely a larger RAM capacity compared to the PS6, at least if it wants to work well as a PC console hybrid. Among the details revealed during the Sony video on Project Amethyst include a Hue technique known as universal compression, which is set to hugely free up processing bandwidth on the GPU. So it's no surprise that, both of these are going to be launching around the same time. We've seen that with the last two console generations. PS4 and Xbox One launched on the same year. PS5 and Series X and S launched on the same year. The last time we had a separation of, for lack of a better term, church and state is the 360 was a year before the PS3. But since then, they both launched the same year. So that's no surprise. Is it more surprising that we're getting them in 2027? Because again, with prices going up, and obviously these are going to be expensive because of the tech and all that. Like it's always going to be, it's always going to be sticker shock when we first see it. It's like, because I mean, when we both saw $500, we were like, oh, yeah, even though we expected it, it was still like we were kind of slightly keeping our fingers crossed, like maybe it won't be as expensive. But are you surprised that it's going to be 20, like, because we figured it was going to be time, but we were like, people were talking about 2028. I know it's only a year difference, but also like we've talked about it, we talked about it a year or two ago about how with all like how hard it was to get a PS5 and Series X and S, that's like, will this create a longer lifespan for those consoles? Like, will it create a longer tail before we get the next consoles? And the fact that they seem pretty adamant that 2027 is going to be the release year, supposedly. And like they said, they gave themselves an out saying, unless something dire happens, 2027 is going to be the year. Are you surprised that we're going to be getting it 7 years? I know it's within the technical time span, but because of all the, with COVID going on and how hard it was to get those consoles, because I mean, it was probably almost a good year before we got consoles on the regular in stores, like not bundles online that you ordered from GameStop or whatever. Are you more surprised that it's actually going to stick to that 7-year window, or is that pretty much just the norm? They're saying it was just an anomaly. We know we have struggles in the beginning. Maybe not everyone has a PS5 and Series X and S, but we're going with it anyway.
I think that this is just them pushing things forward. The PlayStation 5 has sold really well. I'm not even going to touch Xbox right this second, but it sold really well. And they're not just going to sit around waiting for more PS5s to launch to like work on the PS6. They've been working on it for a while. So it doesn't really surprise me that they're already talking about, hey, we're looking at 2027. Yeah. If it was 2029, I feel like that's a little bit better of a window, just because we're finally, and even still, we're finally getting games that are just on the PlayStation 5, because up until recently, we were still getting PS4 games and PS5 games, like in tandem. Yep. We had both versions, and it's like, do we have the software to push the hardware? Do we have anything that's really like, oh my gosh, we've got to get this console? And I think that's the biggest thing that they've got to really look at is like, okay, next year is Wolverine. So that's 2026. What is going to launch the PlayStation 6? what is the big thing that's going to do that? And then you also have GTA that's coming out next year.
Yeah, exactly.
As well.
That's
and it's
now that'll sell consoles no matter what system it's on. But regardless, that's going to be the big boon for them.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, 2026 GTA 6 comes out. Nobody, like, not really normal people are going to buy PS6 and then buy GTA 6 again.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So it's like you've got to really have something to make people want to buy this that aren't just, diehard fans that have the extra cash. You know what I mean? And for Xbox, they're more powerful than the PlayStation, but doesn't matter. It hasn't sold.
Right. I mean, if you want to be technical, the Series X was more powerful than the PS5 at launch. Like if you looked at the spec sheet, but didn't care. Like PlayStation had the brand, they have the games, they have, and especially now, like when Xbox, like I know, they've changed. Last week we talked about how they're changing their view of Game Pass, but and everyone's perception of Game Pass. But now that they're pushing Game Pass as the brand, they're like, we don't care how powerful the console is. Like you're touting Game Pass and you're making that your business model going forward.
Yeah, and teraflops didn't do anything because it flopped, if you will. I feel like that doesn't push it for me. The graphics to a certain degree do it for me, but it's the games. Do you have the things that actually make me want to buy? And is it going to be cross-generational games for the next 3 years? And if so, is it really worth it? Yeah, is it really worth it? Like if you don't have the extra money.
I mean, in some aspects it will be, because we've seen time and time again, like let's use a prime example, Shadow of Mordor, right? That was a cross-generational between PS3, PS4, 360, and Xbox One. But they delayed the PS3 and 360 versions because the Nemesis system wasn't running on the old.
Yeah.
And they said, let's still release it and whatnot. And like, what was it? Miles Morales. I don't think there was any features missing in it, but I know there was like so many issues of it running on PlayStation 4 compared to a PS5. So like it made the PS5 version the default. So in some aspects, there will be those cases of like, okay, yes, it will. You want to play it on the better hardware, but which leads me to my question, Zach, is like, because you kind of touched on it. It's like, yes, we are wowed by the tech. I know you and your lighting effects. Like you're just wowed by it. How much more ray tracing can they add into the games? But it's the games that make us want to invest in buying the console. So my question is to you, Zach, because the state of the world, how everything is getting more expensive, and how PS5 is raising their prices, Xbox has raised their prices again, with even like twice in less than 6 months from it, and probably less than 4 months from each other, honestly. And then Game Pass is going up. Do you think this is and yes, we are older gamers, and statistically, the older you get, the less involved in certain, like in the gaming sphere you get. And we don't even have kids, and that's especially, because normally by then it's like wife and kids, all that kind of stuff. We don't even have kids. It's like, but we're getting less and less interested in gaming. Like we're part of that 40% that maybe buy more than a couple games a year, maybe. But
we're still very interested in gaming, but we don't play as much as we
that's
want.
True. That is okay. That's fair assessment. But do you think that this will be, because you got it within like a launch window, you know what I mean? Like the PS5. Do you think this is the year that, or whenever it launches, this will be the generation that we both kind of go, on the new consoles, because like mainly the PlayStation 6, because if they don't have anything killer launch that's going to be like the reason to buy PS6 on launch day, because I'm a full disclosure, if they don't have like killer apps, like if most of the killer apps are going to come after the launch of the PS6, I'll wait. I'm not getting a console day one.
Yeah, if there's nothing that is amazing that's launching, I'll wait to them kind of iron out the bugs of everything and then get one. Probably won't wait longer than a year, but if it's not launching, I don't want it to be like the Switch 2 where it launches with Mario Kart World and Bonanza, and like Bonanza's great, but it's not a console buyer for me.
No.
You know, and now if it launches with like God of War, like a new God of War, then yeah, I'll get it.
Yeah.
Day one, like that's a, you know,
that'd be the exception is God of War, because
yeah,
even if it's like a Greek remake, I was like, okay, it's God of War, I'll play it regardless.
Yeah, that is, it's got to be something great for me to do that. And if it's cross generational, then that might make me wait a little bit longer to get it. But it's also the price. I think this is going to be, you know, right now. Yeah, like the PS5 Pro bundle is $750. So I'm thinking we're at $800.
That's disgusting to say.
Yeah, I feel like we're at $800 for this next console generation. We just saw the ROG Ally Xbox Ally X launch, and it's $1,000 for the, you know, more powerful one and everything.
You know how many games I could buy for $800?
So many, dude.
I mean, probably by then it'll probably be 2 games, but you know.
Hopefully not, dude. Hopefully not. But I'm excited to see where we go in the future. And we got an update from a developer that I wasn't expecting to hear from today. And
yeah,
that is Quantic Dream announces a free-to-play multiplayer game called Spellcasters Chronicles, and this is by Tom Phillips over at IGN. And we do have a trailer, but I'm going to let Derek talk a little bit, and then we'll watch it.
Okay. So Spellcasters Chronicles will be a drastic departure for the studio as a free-to-play competitive team-based 3v3 action strategy game set to launch in closed beta via Steam before the end of this year. Quote, stepping into a new genre with a fresh artistic approach has been both a challenge and a source of growth, allowing us to evolve as a team, Cage explained in a statement today. We now look forward to shaping the game further with players' feedback and to perfecting the journey together. While Spellcasters Chronicles might be unlike anything Quantic Dream has made before, Cage has suggested that the project actually reflected both the, quote, creative spirit and technical ambitions guiding Quantic Dream for nearly 3 decades. Describing the game as a blend of action and strategy genres depicted with an animated fantasy aesthetic, Cage said Spellcasters Chronicles would allow the famously story-led Quantic Dream a chance at exploring community-driven narrative. Spellcasters Chronicles matches will see 2 teams of 3 players compete in fast-paced 25-minute matches, the developer said, as teams must capture altars to gain territory and destroy their opponent's life stones to claim their victory. You'll play as spellcasters described as archetype-driven mages with distinct identities that fight with spells and summoned creatures. After years of development, we can't wait to finally share the world of Spellcasters Chronicles with players, said game director Georgi Diacono. We are starting our closed beta phase with our core loop focused on arena battles and will introduce community narrative and other elements of our macro loop in the following months. Earlier today, Cage offered the briefest of updates on Quantic Dream's highly anticipated Star Wars Eclipse, confirming the game remained in development. Of course, development of Star Wars Eclipse continues, Cage said, and we are eager to share more with you in the future. So, interesting. This almost feels like George R.R. Martin with Winds of Winter. It's like, hey, we know you're waiting for Star Wars Eclipse, but let's work on, we really want to show you this other new project we're doing on, and we're actually going to make you play it later or early faster than we will Eclipse.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they're still working on Eclipse and everything, but maybe. I don't know. Let's watch the trailer. I haven't watched it yet, so let's check it out, and then we can give a little bit more than just what we've read so far.
The tapestry, where past, present, and future entwine, where the gods once shaped the fate of man and empires. But the gods are gone now, and in the chaos they left behind, some of us obtained abilities no mortal was meant to hold. To break the laws of nature.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Legions of beasts. Bend the elements to their will.
Okay.
Summon storms of fire and fortresses of iron to unleash even the might of the legendary titans.
wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting more like MOBA, which it is, but
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting like the free kind of movement,
Right.
third person. I was expecting just kind of like top down lane stuff.
Our future is in your hands.
Okay, for me, it looks better than I thought it was going to be honest, but it does not do anything for me.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me gameplay wise. And you know, when I was reading the description of it, it's like, okay, sounds like Control Point, you know, with altars, but then it's like, okay, then you destroy them. It's like, okay, that sounds like Smite. And then the gameplay looks like when it summons like the giant creature, it kind of remain. You remember that game a couple years ago? It hasn't really had any updates since, but that Conan, the game based on Conan the Barbarian, where it was like the different like those you can summon huge gods to come down and like attack or whatever. It's kind of like a meld of that, like Smite meets Conan, essentially.
Yeah, it again, this looks way cooler than I thought it was going to. Because I thought it was literally just going to be lane over, like just like Smite, which I know we got Smite 2, but nobody talks about it. I feel like this is going to be a waste of money for Quantic Dream.
Oh, for sure.
Like this is not what people want. You know, we've got League of Legends.
Yeah.
Let League players play League of Legends, and then Dota 2 people play Dota 2. Nobody's really wanting this. I feel like this is a waste of money, development time, and I don't know. I hate to see like a studio waste that when they should be all hands on something that can like be Eclipse. Really good. Yeah,
maybe we'll see. I don't know if I have hope for that, you know, at this point, but no. You're right, and it almost feels like even though they're not owned, and like Sony had talked to them once before down the road when they were like doing exclusive like deals with them, it's sort of like they're following the Jack, not Jack Trenton, Voldemort, Lord Voldemort, Jim Ryan. They almost sound like follow the Jim Ryan trend of like, oh, you want live service games? Cool, all hands on deck for that. Cool, we got you, fam. And it's sort of like they're following that same trend. I'm like, you know, you're not owned by Sony, right? You don't have to, you play by your own rules. You don't have to do this.
Yeah, it feels so 2016. Correct. Like you got to have all your different heroes and all of this kind of like they're like shoving. I know Smite has different heroes and all of that, but it feels like Overwatch and like it just feels hollow and not interesting.
Correct.
Like that world did not draw me in at all. And you know, I'm sure a lot of people have said that today since they've seen it. But let's talk about a developer that is near and dear to our hearts because they just released Ghost of Yotei. Sucker Punch says it will remain a single project studio, and this is by Wesley Yunpool at IGN.
In an interview with VGC, Sucker Punch co-founder and studio head Brian Fleming said the studio will decide its next project once the multiplayer add-on Ghost of Yotei Legends comes out in 2026. Quote, the truth is that whatever we do next, whether it's continuing Ghost or going back to Sly, the decision is really more limited by, again, our cherishing of focus and time to iterate, which means that we really can only do one thing at a time, he said. If we were good at juggling 4 projects, yeah, we'd have a remaster, and let's go do one of those and do some fan requests that would be really popular, but we only get to do one thing. So it's kind of has to be your best idea, right? And that's really clarifying. And it's not like there aren't 15 good ideas, but you only get to do one. And by the way, you only get to do one about every 5 years. So that choice is really important. I mean, that is choosing your major or your college and your major every 5 years. Sucker Punch has plenty to draw from in its back catalog, as Fleming mentioned. One of its classic franchises is Sly Cooper, which fans have called it to return in some form. And what about the Infamous series? Would a remaster then a sequel prove successful? And then there's the prospect of another Ghost game following Tsushima and Yotei. So, first of all, I think, you know, the whole idea of like what Sucker Punch is going to do next post Ghost of Yotei Legends next year is bearing the lead of the fact of that we're getting a studio that is actually has its head on it straight. You know, it's got a good head on its shoulders. It's like, because, you know, we've seen time and time again, like especially these AAA third-party studios, is like they get too big for their britches. They have a big hit, and it's like, all right, let's go capture the next light in the bottle. It's like, oh, we have this idea too, and let's explore this, and it's about time for this remaster. It's about the anniversary. Let's throw this into the fire, and they're stretched too thin. Even if they have the manpower to do all those projects, it's like when you're spread too thin, it's sort of like everything becomes stale, like not the same, like nothing invigorating. No juice in it. No one's excited about what they're doing because they're bouncing between project and project. But Sucker Punch is like, they're self-aware, which I highly respect of anyone. I don't care if you know you're an idiot. If you admit that you're an idiot, I have more respect for you than someone who's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So the fact that they're like, we're a one project studio, we're going to put our all into this. Like, we're going to make it the best thing. Like, may not be game of the year contender, but we're going to put our all into this. Because Tsushima is a game of the year contender. We're assuming Yote will be as well. But it's like, if you put your all into it, good things will happen. And so I'm glad that they are focusing on one thing at a time. And yes, they say you only get your shot every 5 years, and that is true, because game development now is getting longer, and it might be 6 or 7 years before we get the next Sucker Punch game at this point. But that's okay, because if they keep making it like they've done with Tsushima and Yote, we'll all be excited. Just like this new iteration of Santa Monica, we don't care if the next God of War doesn't come out until PlayStation 7. Hopefully not that long, but if they did, we would be excited for it, because the duology of the Norse God of War, fantastic.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. I want my studios to be able to focus down. Mm-hmm. I look over at Naughty Dog, and you see a studio that was the crown jewel. Mm-hmm. They couldn't do any wrong, and then they started breaking off pieces to go focus on different things, following what Jim Ryan wanted with more live services.
And even different mediums, doing a TV show of one of the most popular franchises.
Which, great show. Nothing wrong with the Last of Us show, but when you pull the visionaries, you pull the team in so many different directions, there's going to be things that fall through. Mm-hmm. Just like the Last of Us multiplayer game that didn't come out, that got canceled. And I am excited for, is it Intergalactic? I want to say
the Heretic Prophet.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. It's something new. It's a different universe. Like, I'm loving the space thing. I think it's going to be great. But what if we would have been able to focus down on that? We would have probably got that sooner. And we know that they're working on several projects over there. Then you look at somebody that's like Sucker Punch, or Insomniac does work on multiple. But when you look at it, it's like you see Sucker Punch and they just deliver the amount of quality, the amount of research, the amount of dedication that goes into every game that they've been releasing is just staggering compared to some of the other people that are around there. Look at, what we've gotten from Concord and what we might get from Fair Games and Destiny, and like all of these things that are just kind of thrown at the wall and hoping nobody really looks too close at it, compared to somebody that's like, oh, this is my love. This is the thing that I'm going to put my heart and soul into until I ship it.
That everyone is passionate about,
Yeah. And for me, it's like, okay, we get Ghosts of Yote, we get Legends next year. I would hope, I haven't played all the way through Yote, so I don't know if there's any kind of like story that we could get. I would love a DLC like Iki Island. I thought Iki Island was amazing. A little, nugget that was like that was just delicious. And really told some story stuff that really solidified a lot of things that we don't get in the main game. Do we get that in, Yote? I don't know, but it would be cool. But for me, it's like, do we get another Ghost game? It's selling really well, especially over in Europe. It's literally competing against like the football club games over there. So it is selling well, but do they want to keep doing that? Right. I think, Sony might push it to be honest, because it's
Yeah.
a kind of guaranteed. It's like, hey, this will sell. So what do you want to see? Do you want him to go back to Infamous? Do you want him to go Sly Cooper? Like, what do you want, Derek?
Well, just to touch on, you talking about like Sony pushing for them to do another one, sort of like with Naughty Dog and The Last of Us, right? Like like fans and I'm sure Sony behind closed doors are like, you got to do a part 3. You got to do a part 3 for Last of Us. And Neil Druckmann has talked about it, is like, look, we've discussed some storyboards, like that was the first thing, but then that was the first thing we discussed, like, do we go immediately into part 3 or do we go through a new project? And that's why they landed on Intergalactic. And that's, I think, Sucker Punch's decision is like, do they have enough in the tank to want to put fuel in that fire for Ghost again, or do they want to go and explore? So let me get this out of the way. Like, Astrobot aside, I think, even though I think fans do clamor for Sly Cooper, and we get a Ratchet and Clank game like every generation at this point, I think for the most part, the mascot platformer is dead. So now, do I think it would be more beneficial to do like a Sly Collection remaster? Yes. I would more rather see Infamous than Sly Cooper at this point, just because I felt like Infamous did superhero stories differently, and so like, especially with the karma system, because like in the different powers it resided in there, and it was just like an original superhero. Especially the first one felt so much like a comic book come to life. It was crazy. But as much as I would like to see them do another Ghost game, I would kind of like the Naughty Dog approach. What's something new you can do? Because there's rumors about Santa Monica like doing different projects, but there's that space game that they're bringing back from the dead supposedly, or just like in a different iteration form at this point. So I'm always excited to see, as much as I like to see. I think the PlayStation 5 generation, or from going it from 4 into 5, this whole duology, like instead of making it a trilogy, like because we saw too many times like one part of a trilogy of games would always be like the black sheep. Like people wouldn't care for it as much, whether it be the second one, the third one, what have you. So I think like when you do a strong duology, like God of War and then Ragnarok and then Tsushima and Yote, I think that is going to, and like right now we only have Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. Like if they do a Part 3, we'll revisit this conversation later, but it's a strong double set of like duology of games. So I feel like Sony needs to, I think, keep going with that track record, and like maybe like at least give a longer tail in between like a second and a third iteration.
I think, looking at what you just said, doing the 1 and 2s, like, even if like, I think people, doesn't matter how long it's going to be from Ghost of Yote to the next Ghost game, people will be excited. Okay. Because
sure.
People love playing as a samurai. Like, they can wait 10 years, they could put out, Sly Cooper or whatever remastered, or Infamous, like remastered
collection.
Yeah. Remake. Like a remake would be dope for Infamous with all the new tech and all of that. Because Second Son was fun, but I feel like
it felt like more like a tech demo because of all the flashiness of the PS4.
Exactly. So I feel like if we got the first one and like really like, oh my God, it would be amazing. So it's like, give them a little time in between it. I would love a third one, but hey, go sharpen your tool set some more. Get interested in something else, so when you come back to this kind of world, you have something else to say.
Correct.
And I think that's the right way to do it, because if you keep telling the same story, you're eventually going to get Dynasty Warriors, where it is the same thing over and over and over again. And we don't want that from our first party studios. We don't want a Call of Duty where you're just going to kind of play the campaign for a few hours and then go play multiplayer. That's not what we want. We want good stuff.
Correct.
And just like that, you want good stuff. And it's time for the Patreon Quick Hits. They're brought to you by our wonderful patrons. So go over and support the Nerd Cave by getting your very own Nerd Cave membership to help us continue to make this awesome show and others, because we're a 1.5 person business, guys. This is a mom and grop shop over here, okay? And Derek has to have enough water to be able to read all the stuff, okay? Yes. So help us out. Go pick your very own patreon.com/nerdcave membership up for the tier that works best for you. And if you can't support us financially, that's okay too. Watching, liking, sharing, commenting helps a ton as well. And you can also get a free Patreon membership over there as well. So go patreon.com/nerdcave, do all the good stuff. Now, the Patreon quick hits.
First up, PS6 next-gen AMD architecture to feature dedicated path tracing GPU radiance cores. Following out, the PS6 is set to use new universal compression tech that hugely frees up GPU processing bandwidth. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle Anniversary Update adds New Game Plus, Cairo outfit, and more. Claire Obscure Studio won't be constrained by story, art style, or gameplay for whatever comes next. A Minecraft Movie 2 sets a 2027 release window. 1993's Mario and Wario finally comes west as Switch Online adds 3 SNES games. Excuse me. Skate Story, Devolver's surreal skateboard game, launches on December 8th. Cecil joins the Invincible Versus roster. Layers of Fear, the final Masterpiece Edition, is coming to Switch 2, along with a mysterious Switch-exclusive horror game codenamed Project M. 17-year Halo vet sparks concern after departing franchise with ominous message about not trading away ethics or values. Discord confirms over 70,000 users affected by customer service hack that has compromised images of government-issued IDs like driver's license and passports. A 130-year-old Japanese kabuki company is getting into video games. New research claims a $100 price point for GTA 6 would actually leave money on the table. Rumor Fallout 3 Remastered is unlikely to appear at Fallout Day, says leaker. Heart Machine is ending development of Hyper Light Breaker amid layoffs. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie casts Megan Fox as the voice of Toy Chica. Battlefield 6 gets off to a huge start on Steam with over 740,000 concurrent players just hours after launch. Battlefield 6 presents players with a campaign uninstall button after they beat it and tells them it'll save space. Battlefield 6 reportedly hit 6.5 million in sales in its first few days, or units in the first few days. After 250 job losses and disastrous management, Mind's Eye staff, past and present, unite in open call for better conditions as further layoffs are feared. Miari Zo will head to Tekken 8 on December 1st. New Toe Jam and Earl game is reportedly in the planning stages, says co-creator Craig Johnson. Fatal Fury City of the Wolves adds Muay Thai champion Joe Higashi as the latest DLC character. Resident Evil Requiem pre-orders kick off on October 29th. 007 First Light developer was keen not to make its James Bond a Superman from day one. You can have pets in the Outer Worlds too, and yes, you can pet them. Obsidian didn't intend to have third person in the Outer Worlds too, but saw the desire from fans. Dragon Ball Daima's Super Saiyan 4 Goku is coming to Dragon Ball Fighters in the spring. Borderlands 4 reveals Bounty Pack 1 How Rush Saved Mercenary Day, the first seasonal mini event, an invincible boss, and more. Assassin's Creed Shadows Switch 2 release date reportedly leaked for December 5th. A new Dissidia Final Fantasy game is coming, but only to mobile devices. Bluepoint Games is hiring for a third-person melee action title. FBC Firebreak's weak sales prompt Remedy to issue profit warning to its investors. Tekken 8 update adds Armor King DLC, Nightmare Jester Pack, and behavior changes. Capcom is reviewing pricing after plans to charge fans to watch the tournament final streams prompts major backlash. Arrowhead pushes back Helldivers 2 updates in order to focus on performance improvements. Assassin's Creed series boss has reportedly quit Ubisoft after turning down leadership role in Vantage Studios. Ghost of Yotei is Sony's biggest first-party release since Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Summer Game Fest returns in June at Hollywood's Dolby Theater. Halo Combat Evolved remake reportedly to include sprint and modern gameplay mechanics. Battlefield boss Vince Sampella says, quote, the only reason Call of Duty exists is because EA were jerks, and he uses another colorful adjective in place, but, you know, we're family-friendly here, guys. Pokemon Terra League reveals unannounced games, seemingly laying out the franchise's major releases through 2030.
So I wanted to bring back real quick. Blue Point Games is hiring for a third-person melee action title.
You don't say.
Derek, are we finally getting a Bloodborne remake?
No, we're not. I forget what, because Kind of Funny was talking about it. I think that already got squashed. And I don't know if it was on Kind of Funny or if I read it somewhere else, but someone had said that the developer behind Bloodborne said that Sony was like, nah, we've told the story. The story's been told. We have nothing to add to it. That's good. That's it.
Okay. So what do you think they're working on? Third person action?
Well, apparently they were working on a live service God of War game that got canceled. So I don't know. There's when you put it as vague as that, the possibilities could be anything. I would like them to go back to doing, like, after, whether they were excited about it or not, like a live service God of War game. I don't know if I would be that excited for that studio to do that necessarily, especially when they're just been a remake studio. I'd like them to see back and go and do a remake of something. You know what I mean? I don't know what. Maybe they do the Sly Cooper remake. Maybe they do an Infamous remake. Who knows?
Maybe, because their Demon Souls was killer.
Fantastic, yeah.
You know, when the launch of the PS5. So only time will tell what Blue Point is working on, because we've been waiting for so long for Blue Point to put something out since the launch of the PS5. But there you go, everybody. That is the Nerd Cave News this week. We hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure to join us live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time for more awesome content just like this one. And keep your eyes peeled and your ears tuned for all the awesome stuff we post throughout the weeks. This has been Zach
and Derek.
Y'all have a blessed week. Bye-bye.